Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankara Vavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om. Yeah. Let's share our takeaways from this session.
Gurudev, all the similes, it becomes so pictorial in my mind. That ocean, all this was saying, for beautiful, this joy to watch nature is simply so amazing.
Very true. That abreshu dhavatsu dhavanniva yatha shashi, when you actually look at it, if you spend some time watching the sky and the clouds are moving, it as though seems as if even the moon is moving as fast as the clouds are. So all this is just a superimposition, and how Adi Shankaracharya picked up all these beautiful observations, and the highest truths of Vedanta, he's given it to us in these observations of daily life. And even
Day
this
before yesterday, Bhanu Didi has posted something on Instagram or Facebook. Somebody is sitting in the train, and the Swamiji, I think Swamiji has posted, and the train is moving, and all the scenery is running. So who is sitting and who is running? That's so beautiful. It was explained there. So all events and everything is just moving.
Correct. For me, what was very was coming up time and again during these examples was asangoham, asangoham. Atma is just the witness. It is not attached to anything. It is only we who superimpose all of this on the Atma. We put this adhyasa on the Atma. Whereas Atma is just the witness, it's just asang, is unattached to any of this. It is Shuddham Chaitanyam, Nitya Nirmalaha, it is Satchidananda Swarupaha. But then we superimpose the Deha, all the Dashendriyas, Mano, Buddhya, Hankara, all of that on the Atma. Just like how when the waters, the reflection of the full moon in the water, when the water is still, you can see the moon still as if it's not moving. But once you have a little ripple in the water, maybe a wave, or you throw a stone or a pebble in the water and you disturb the stillness, when the water moves, it is as though the moon is also quivering. The moon is also shivering. The superimposition that we have, the Jagat and all of us, the body and everything on the Atma is just as simple as that. So on one end, if you look at it, it's very, very simple. But then on the other end, when you look at it, because how our in the past lives we have, all this has become so ingrained. Deep concepts of I am the body, I am the mind. So therefore, when you look at it from that angle, it as though seemingly seems a difficult task.
But Ramaraji, the challenge is all other things are a bit more tangible and have some attributes to it, right? The challenge with Atma is there are no attributes. So it has to be something that you realize or gets revealed to you, because any other thing is easy to relate to, right? Moon and the cloud, or moon's reflection in the water, all these things, that substratum is more tangible. In water you're seeing the moon. When you talk about Atma, you cannot have any attributes to it, right? That substratum is so I don't know whether subtle is the right word. So is something that has to be purely realized. You cannot know it.
Correct. It is not an object of perception.
Correct. It's not an
Is
object of
it is
perception.
real.
So,
Yeah. That is why that neti neti vakyataha, that is how we get to it.
true. That's the only way you can get to it. It's not something. All other examples we might be able to appreciate, realize, and everything, but that Atma is something which, by grace, has to be automatically revealed to you.
Yeah.
You have to.
It is Prakashavat. He said he's Prakashavat. He told also, na, there are so many moons, but only one moon we can see. So how that only one is highlighted?
Hmm.
Even in yesterday's satsang, Gurudev had mentioned, um, you cannot get enlightenment with sadhana. Any of your spiritual practices, you cannot get enlightenment. Someone was asking, um, I think at around age 30 or 30 plus, that is when
36.
enlightenment
Hmm.
happens.
Hmm.
And for
32.
that, they've said that it is beyond time and space. So how can you limit enlightenment to time and space when it's actually beyond these two? Dehe kale atitaha. And then he said, no spiritual practice can give you enlightenment. It can only prepare you. It can only give you patrata. It is like you're cleaning a vessel, you're cleaning it. Whether nectar comes into it or not, it depends on it totally depends on grace. When when the divine wants to fill your vessel with nectar. So all these um, uh, practices that we do is only polishing our vessel, improving our patrata. So that enlightenment, when it happens, when that Atma Tattva reveals itself, it is a matter of grace.
True. That's
And for
purely.
that, he said, how do you get that? It will not come to you if you go on hankering for it. Oh, I want moksha, I want moksha. That mumukshutvam is important, but you you do your part of cleaning your vessel and you let go. So that mumukshutvam is required for us to do the polishing aspect. After that, you just let go. It was very
Hari
beautiful
Om.
today's satsang. Yeah.
Yeah, my small takeaway for today is the more simple your life is, the more you will be able to go closer, and the more you are near to the Prakriti. Here we are living in the metropolitan cities, which is taking us away from that, realizing that beauty, like the examples what Swamiji had given, moon in the lake or whatever it is, we are not able to see on a daily basis. If we are closer in the maybe in the village or in a life which is very simple, which is close to Prakriti, I'm sure that this realization will be sooner. That's what I felt today. We are here very, very far, far away. We don't get time even to listen to the birds chirping or the sun rising or the clouds moving in the sky. Hari Om.
We need modern examples wherein we can relate to the modern examples. Because, but I agree completely with you. Being in nature opens up so many um, realities when you observe it keenly.
I felt so pathetic living in, Manhattan. And Nanaji was saying, it's so.
But actually, when you look at it, correct, I completely agree that being in nature is something very beautiful and very revealing. But at the same time, um, if you're keenly observing, you might find so many such examples even within the house. I mean, not necessary that you have to go out. The thing is, so supposing you've lit a lamp and you have different vessels around it, or how do I put it? It had come to my observation that when you light a lamp and there are things around it, you see the reflection of that lamp in all of these. I can't tell you exactly how it was. And then
Yes, yes, yes.
it is
I
as
can
though
feel. Yeah,
you can see that. No? It is
yeah,
as though
yeah, yeah.
it's there in all of these. It is like, it's manifest, it's multiplied. It's only a single lamp, but you can see the reflection of the lamp in in whatever articles are around it. So I think um, if we observe, there is so much to learn from everything. Of course, nature is a huge teacher, but even within the house, that is um, what is that? Sajatiya vritti pravaha. If you're there, you're constantly thinking of Atma, you're constantly thinking of this Atma Tattva. I think it will reveal, like for how Dattatreya, everything was a teacher for him. He learned so much from everything. So I guess it's we just have to, chisel out and become more keen observers of things around. Yeah.
Jai Gurudev.
Yes.
Uh, it's when you get up in the morning, like in the early hours, that is the best time you observe the nature. You watch the sky, you watch the sun, you watch the birds, you watch the leaves falling. Like it's the best because everything is very peaceful, and it's it's a such a pleasure to watch the nature in the morning. That is the best time. Like it's beyond this thing. The experience is so nice. uh, I enjoy it very much early morning. And if you someday if you get late, you really feel because all these noises starts, the traffic, then people and all these. No, so the bliss that is there in the morning, no, that the Brahma Muhurat, that is the best time you, as the sun start rising, it's very nice.
Yeah. Just like how Surya Lokam Yatha Janaha, once the sun rises, the hustle bustle starts. And
Yeah.
everybody is busy doing this and that and that. But Rajavat Sada, like the king, the Atma witnesses all of this happening. You're true, because see, in the early morning, in the wee hours of the morning, the sattva is predominant. That is why yesterday Percy ji was mentioning, no? All your practices and spiritual sadhana, breathing, everything is best done in the um,
in the morning.
morning.
Mm.
You feel the
Yeah,
difference
like
when you do your
sometimes
pranayama.
you hear the birds. Somebody, I don't remember who it is. They turn on they unmute themselves and they talking or answering question or something. You can hear in the background, the crow cawing or the birds chirping and all that. I really, it's so nice in the morning that you hear this, what is that, not the hen, the other, what is that one? Rooster. That's one wake up people in the morning. I miss that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Mara, even I miss that cuckoo sound in the hot summer, which we typically hear only in India, not here. I crave for that sound, cuckoo sound.
Yeah, that the cows and all these things, wander around on the street and all that stuff, right? Here, nobody comes out of the house, and oh, that's funny. But it's one time, it just small joke that I want to tell you. My daughter's house, there some rooster escaped some place from some cage, I think, and it flew to somewhere, and then near her house every day it keep making sound in the morning, early in the morning, like 3 4 like that. And then finally that neighbor took that rooster on the top of the car and drove him. These people, they couldn't even stand that sound. Oh my God. They took it out, and they had to leave it in the where the rooster came from. It was really funny. Like that, they are so used to being quiet here, and then uh, they're all like a lot of noise around.
And it is said that if you hear the crows sound in the morning, so it means some guest is going to come to your house that
Yeah,
day.
yeah, right. Yeah, there are two kinds of crows. In US, I see more of that, all like dark, like black color. Not the neck will be a little bit grayish. That kind of crow we don't see here. But even though those crows, when you call, how you try to put the food, certain days you put it and you call kaka, to put food for these crows. They don't come and eat. Some animal will come and eat. So, so we are not used to all these things. Anyway, I didn't want to digress the topic, but it's some of the observation.
Much into nature. So that's fine.
Yeah. And some of them have become non-vegetarian instead of vegetarian. Earlier days, they used to eat chapati, we used to keep. Nowadays, they don't eat. They want biscuit or they want something different. My father-in-law always puts either chapati, both of things he will put, but they will eat biscuit and they will not eat chapati. Evolution is changing. But during COVID, actually, many sparrows, I really love the sound of sparrows in the morning. But before COVID, I used to find that they have become very less in number. But during COVID, thankfully, I think nature has blossomed and they have come back. So I can hear the sounds again. Really beautiful.
That's very nice.
I will share what Percy ji had shared yesterday. I'll share it in the group. I was thinking maybe I will post it in the as a mail to all those that are keen, that are been attending this one, because there's many more in the group. But Percy ji has given. He said no, you can decide whatever. So let me post it in the group. I think it will help a greater number of people. And he has shared some more beautiful things, which is also which is what I will also share in the group. We'll continue with Atma Bodh, and then we'll see today if we can touch upon our Bhagavad Gita. We stopped at, we had a lot of discussion on the Sukshma Sharira, Tanmatras and the Panchakoshas and everything, and we'll go on to the 14th verse. Anadya vidya nirvachya karanopadiruchyate upadhitridaya danyam atmanam avadharayet.
Excuse me, Dr. Brahma, are you going to share the screen, please?
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I just opened this and I thank you for reminding me.
No problem.
I was wondering why I'm not able to see the regular screen. When I share screen, it shows differently. Yeah. So you're all able to see, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I will just read this. There is one uh, something that Swamiji had mentioned. A man in deep thoughts or sleep does not see and recognize the person standing by his side because his mind has not gone out through the eyes to see the object before him. So I think this was in relation to saying the golakas, the sense organs are not those sense spots, physical spots. They are not the actual organs of perception. It is the mind behind that that actually sees. It is not the eyes that see, it is the mind behind that sees. Similarly, the ears don't hear, it's the mind again that perceives the sound. So, in that, there is this footnote. I wanted to read that. In Vedanta, the theory of perception is that consciousness riding over the mind flows through the sense organs and reaches the object, ghatadesha, and takes the shape of the object. Then we have the knowledge, vritti jnanam. This is the object. I am ghataha. So scientific it is, no? How it, modern medicine, modern psychology does not even get the concept of consciousness. It just stops at the mind, intellect, and ego, probably. That's it. But here, it is the consciousness riding over the mind, flowing through the sense organs, and reaches the object and takes the shape of the object. Then we have the knowledge, vritti jnanam, this is the object. I'm just just wanted to share this. For for a baby, newborn baby, there is no knowledge of this and that. But as the baby is growing up, and we teach the baby A for apple, B for banana, and all that, and we keep saying, this is the light, this is the fan. That is when that knowledge, we're associating that object and the name, the form, and the knowledge, all that is being linked. That is when that vritti jnanam is there. Only then, with that knowledge, we are able to kind of identify. And this keeps growing as we grow up. So our knowledge keeps expanding of the external world. So if you do not know that, if someone does not know that this is an apple, no matter how much he sees, he will not know that vritti jnanam of that apple doesn't come. He only sees it as a red object. That's it, isn't it?
So that's actually that with Chinmay, that BMI chart he puts, that's the perception, right? So the body perceives that object, and that goes, because through these two things that you're talking about, Vritti Jnanam. Yeah.
And what we have to do is now become, bring in that Brahma Vritti, Atma Vritti, that goes on and on. Then, like that Brahmara Kita Nyayam, when the wasp goes around the larva, goes on humming and humming and humming around it, then the larva metamorphoses and becomes a wasp and comes out, becomes a wasp. So similarly, we have to do that Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha throughout.
Right.
Then we'll slowly unlearn and declutch ourselves from the concepts we have that I am the body, I am the mind. And that asangoham, punah punaha, that keeps happening.
In I mean, I know that we are reading Atma Bodha, but in terms of that, thinking about it, there are 5 different things that this Daitriya Upanishad talks about, like how they talk about 5 different things. One is Prapancha, thinking about Prapancham, because between the earth, the world, and the Akasha, in between, what is there, like the air. So Akasha the air, the wind forms from the vayu, forms from the akasha. Like that, uh, then Agni forms the water, right? Agni and the air connects and then gives rise to the water. Like that, we have to think in those terms also uh, to reach this Atma, like how, uh,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
part of our scientific analysis, scientific
right,
observation, and logical
right,
conclusions, isn't it?
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
right. So, like that, and then they talk about education. So, what you get, and you want to give it to other people as well. You get it from your teacher, and then you spread it to someone else. So that kind of helps. So
that is
that's
called
also,
Rishi Rina. The
huh?
it's called Rishi Rina. Rishi Rina is, it is the debt of the from the rishis that you have. You have to pay
Right.
it back. That is when whatever knowledge you gather, you get, you will have to
Mhm.
share it with people. That is when you actually, um, give back this Rishi Rina.
Right. The
Yeah,
same thing about the speech and all that, how we speak, like moving your lower jaw to the upper jaw where the tongue in between, makes the speech. Like that, you need to introspect ourselves, to get there. Anyway,
no, which is true, Dr. Mara, because see,
yeah,
we get so caught up from the time we wake up in this rat race that there is no time we have for introspection, for observation. It's a wonder.
now exactly, like now you think about it, why didn't
Yeah.
I think about all these things? We are always looking out
Mm,
outside of,
mm.
everything, right? So you don't really even think about it unless like we are go into this kind of spiritual
Because
learning.
we have somewhere taken everything for granted. That even that we are able to see, we are able to hear,
Yeah.
understand, talk, speak.
Hmm.
All this is such a wonder. And when you look at that, that is why it says yoga, uh, Vismaya Yoga Bhumika. Yoga Vismaya. Yoga is nothing but coming to that state of wonderment. When you
Hmm.
come to that state of wonderment, you're wondering at everything. You're in that wow space. There is no, there is only joy and happiness.
Right, like I kind of thought about it, like when I was a student, right, in your anatomy theater, that you dissect and do every part of the body and dismantle the whole cadaver, right? And we never come across this kind of thought or, insight into looking into those things. I mean, you probably just read, what is nerve, what is that, what is this, what is that. Of course, it's like a mechanical type of thing. Now you can relate much better with those. We still think about where is the mind now, where is the intellect now.
Correct.
Like an Atman on top of it.
Mhm.
Actually, Atman is not only witness, it's a driving force for
It is.
everything.
That is
Mm,
what, no, this previous, the footnote that was read here. It is
yeah,
the consciousness which is riding over the mind.
yeah,
Without the consciousness, you cannot. I mean, that is the one that is giving life to the whole, to life, so to say.
right. I mean, I couldn't believe it, like just, oh my God.
Mhm. Anadi, beginningless, avidya, ignorance, anirvachya, indescribable, karanopadihi, causal body, uchyate is said, upadhi tridayadanyam, other than the three conditioning bodies. Atmanam, the Atman, avadharayet, should understand. Avidya, which is indescribable and beginningless, is the causal body. Know for certain that the Atman is other than these three conditioning bodies, upadhis. In all cases of delusory superimpositions, such as a ghost vision on a post, the cause of the illusion is in the accidental non-apprehension of the real. The misapprehensions where truth is not known, avidya, when the reality of a thing is veiled, avarana, from us, we cannot but misinterpret the reality through our own misdirected imaginations, vikshepa, which form the delusory projections, adhyasa. When the intellect is clouded with ignorance, the mind dances in agitation, painting for itself an exhaustive picture of dark despair. So this, if we remember and recollect, where the truth is not known, when there is avidya, the tamasic aspect of this brings in the avarana. It causes the veil of ignorance, and then it starts with accidental non-apprehension that leads to misinterpretation of the reality through our own misdirected imaginations. The rajasic aspect brings in the vikshepa. We start superimposing, and which form the delusory projections, adhyasa. So this is what Swamiji has described in short is the what should I say? Is the misery of man, is the calamity that that man and Ajnani puts himself to. When the spirit is not known due to the veiling layers of ignorance, avidya, the misapprehensions of the spirit as the various matter envelopments start. Identifying with these layers, the delusory sense of individuality arises. And this ego suffers the pains and agonies of existence, samsara. So the mere non-apprehension, in case it is not creating any misapprehensions, is a condition of relative joy. I will read this again. I didn't quite understand this. So the mere non-apprehension, I think that's a typo error. In case it is not creating any misapprehensions, is a condition of relative joy. This is what happens in the Anandamaya Kosha. In our deep sleep, I guess that is what is the footnote. The joyless joy state of sleep is an example in us when we are in pure avidya, in sheer non-apprehension of neither the self nor the non-self. That is why we have to go even beyond the Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha is still covered by ignorance because there is still that non-apprehension. You still have not found, you've still not gone to reality, you've not realized the self as the self. But you're in that joyless joy state of deep sleep. That's why we say, Aham kimapi na janami sukhena maya nidra anubhuyata. I do not know anything. I did not know anything, but I have enjoyed. I just enjoyed that. Just that joyful experience remains. Yeah. It is this ignorance. This avidya is the causal body, inasmuch as it is this ignorance of an eternal spiritual perfection that has given us our gurgling desires in the intellect, thoughts in the mind, actions through the body. The subtle body and gross body are the products of avidya, and therefore it is called the causal body. Beginningless anadi. This is a description of this mysterious avidya. which the students of Vedanta in their early days of study find it very difficult to accept and assimilate. Clear light is thrown into this concept by the modern revelations in science. Time, according to modern scientists, is the interval between events. And in our textbooks of philosophical thoughts, a more vivid definition is given, which perhaps has a closer personal appeal. Time is the interval between experiences. To have an experience, three factors are necessary: the experiencer, subject, the experienced, the object, and the right relationship established and maintained between the subject and the object, called the experiencing. Thus, the mind-intellect instrument, the experiencer, must have a world of objects, the experienced, to establish the condition of experiencing, to have the first experience. At a single point A, there is no distance to measure. It's only a single point. But from point A to any point B, there is a distance. So when the first experience ends, which is at the rise of a different experience, then alone can the concept of the first unit of time appear in our comprehension. This is so subtle, no? Even for the very first experience, where time is impossible, we need the equipments of the intellect, mind, and body with a world of objects to perceive on, to feel for, and to think upon. Thus, even before time was perceived, the created world has come out. And to perceive it, the equipments of knowledge also must have been created. Avidya is the causal body for the subtle and gross envelopments, and therefore it cannot be qualified or measured by time, which is its own byproducts. This is so good, really. Does anyone want to add, share, clarify? My grandson complains, "Grandpapa, why did you not take me to the marriage of my granny?" Avidya is before time, anadi, timeless. This avidya is again qualified here by Shankara as indescribable. A thing that exists and which can be an object of our perception or feeling or thought alone can be framed in expressions or explained or described. But avidya, which is the cause for the instruments of perception, feeling, and thought, cannot be brought fully within our experience, and hence the difficulty to explain it. Again, if a thing exists, it can be explained. A non-existent thing also can be explained. Avidya can neither be said as existent nor as non-existent, or both, and therefore it is inexplicable. This we've understood. No, this is a little high for me, I thought. But this we've understood, that how time, what time is, right? Time is the interval between two experiences. And for any experience, you require three things. One is an experiencer.
You're talking about time and space, that what it is?
We're talking about how avidya, we're talking about the causal body here, and how
Right.
avidya, it is born of avidya. Avidya is beginningless. So,
Oh yes, anadi, right?
yeah, we're
That's
talking
what.
about the anadi aspect, how to understand that.
Mm.
So the question is, what is time? Anadi is beginningless, right? So it means before time. I mean, there's time, it's timeless, beginningless. So time here, that is what Swamiji is saying. For the beginners of Vedantic of Vedanta, students tend to find this concept very difficult to understand. How is it beginningless? He says modern science helps by bringing in the concept of time. Time, according to modern science, is the interval between two events. Whereas Swamiji takes it to another level, saying time is an interval between two experiences.
Mhm.
Goes on to describe how for any experience you require three things. One is the experiencer, which is the mind, intellect, equipment. Then the experienced, which is the object. And then the process of experiencing, the experiencing. So all the three put together will be the experience. And
Yeah, I'm looking at one quick thing. I know you're wanting to describe it. This other Atma Bodh, basically talking about the causal body is the form of, like, ignorance is said to be the form of the causal body, and they give you this desired lineage. What it means is that the ignorance causing the desire, and then that leads entry into the samsara. Then that leads performance of the actions, and then you are reaping punya and papa, that merits and demerits, accumulation of karma. So that causes accumulation of karma, entry into another birth and death cycle, reaping of joy and sorrow, endless transmigration. So basically, he says the vicious cycle spoken of in the scriptures, from which the rishis have been trying their utmost to save us. So, so the link. So here, this causal body, he is describing the causal body looks like this verse, right?
yeah,
Number
he's actually
14.
describing this verse which says Anirvachya Avidya.
Because it's
Yeah,
no, yeah, it doesn't have any cause. It is it doesn't have, like, it doesn't have a beginning, so it's beginningless and costless.
it
So
is
even
not
the
causeless. We cannot, no, we cannot say it is causeless. It of course has a
the
cause.
cause, meaning the cause of ignorance, there is no cause for the ignorance. That's what it says. But then the ignorance comes from the, I mean, we remember we talked about, oh, we didn't want to look into that so much, but there is no cause. They don't know the cause of the
Correct.
ignorance.
It is indescribable. We cannot
Yeah,
Anirvachya. Anadya Vidya Anirvachya.
anirva. Mhm.
Anirvachya. See, if
The
you, I'm not
ignorance
sure
is.
whether you can say it is causeless because
Mm.
there is a
No,
cause.
it's not. Oh, did I say costless here?
Yeah,
They do not know cause of the ignorance. But where did I read that as a costless? No, I didn't read that. Okay, ignorance is a beginningless and inexplicable, like that's anirvachya.
correct. Correct. It
And
is,
it is said to form the causal body. Other than these three
yeah,
conditioning bodies, we should understand the self to be. Atmanam avadaryat, avadaryayet,
avadharayet.
avadaryet. Yeah. Okay. So I thought I'll just,
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you for giving that other perspective of how ignorance leads to desires and actions and karma, and therefore another cycle of samsara. But
uh-huh.
here, what was very beautiful was how Swamiji is deriving at that beginningless aspect of avidya. It's very nice. I thought we'll go over that before we go to the next verse. Is that we this is understood, no? The truth is covered by our the avidya is
Covered
reality.
by the avarana, that's and then the vikshepa is the projection of the, yeah. Mhm.
So this is exactly what Nana was talking about today. He says there are three things required for this
Mm.
Rajasarpa Bhranti to happen. One is
Mhm.
non-apprehension of the real. That is the avarana. That is the avidya. Then
Mm.
you misinterpret it. There is a misapprehension. You are superimposing the knowledge of your snake on the rope.
Probe. Yeah.
So that is the vikshepa, and then that is the projection. Then you, of course, you superimpose. There is misapprehension, and then there is a superimposition.
Adhyasa. What is adhyasa? Is a delusionary projection.
Projection. So you have avarana, vikshepa, and adhyasa. And then how is avidya leading to
Samsar. It's
that
actually he
there's
has
no
mentioned that also.
identify because of this non-apprehension, then there's misapprehension. We delusorily, this delusory sense of individuality arises. You identify with the small I, the me, my, mine, all that ego and all its envelopments. And then you start suffering all the pains and agonies, raga, dvesha, sukha, dukkha, all of that. We get caught up in that.
So that's probably what he was describing in this kind of desire lineage.
Correct. So he says this joyless joy state of sleep is an example in us wherein we are in pure avidya. That is sheer non-apprehension. So completely when there is complete only non-apprehension, there's no misapprehension. So there is no, that is why in deep sleep, we experience that joy. Because we don't identify with the migraine with which you went to bed with. Before sleeping, you've had a bad headache. You are suffering, you're having the pain. But in deep sleep, you are not identifying with that head or the headache. So there is only joy, only rest, deep sleep. So there is non-apprehension of neither the self nor the non-self. Whereas talking of beginningless, so time is the interval between experiences, and for any experience, you require these three things. So the mind-intellect instrument must have a world of objects, the experience, to establish the condition of experiencing the first experience. So at a single point A, there is no distance to measure. But from point A to point B, there is a distance. So only when the first experience ends, which is at the rise of a different experience, then alone can the concept of the first unit of time appear. This I thought was very subtle and very profound, this concept. And then even for the very first experience where time is impossible, we need the equipments of the intellect, mind, and body with a world of objects to perceive. Thus, even before time was perceived, the created world has come out. Isn't it? Time we can perceive only after the end of the first experience. But in order for that to happen, you should have had the experience of some object. So you have the mind, intellect, and the created world that is actually there even before time. And to perceive it, the equipments of knowledge also must have been created. Avidya, the causal body for the subtle and gross envelopments, therefore cannot be qualified or measured by time. Because time is actually a product of avidya, which is its own products, which is its own byproducts. It is like the grandson asking the grandfather, why did you not take me to the marriage of my granny? The grandson is the byproduct of the grandfather, grandmother through their kids. So how can the grandson be available to witness the marriage of the grandfather and the grandmother? So that is how avidya is beginning, is in the beginning. Time is a byproduct. So therefore, avidya is timeless, beginningless. Avidya, therefore, is anadi, time. I really like this beautiful scientific conclusion, the derivation of how Swamiji has brought about the understanding of how avidya is timeless, beginningless. This avidya is again qualified here by Shankara as indescribable. A thing that exists and which can be an object of our perception or feeling or thought alone can be framed in expressions and explained or described. But avidya, which is the cause for the instruments of perception, isn't it? In Tattvabodh we saw it is from avidya, from the causal body, that the subtle body is formed. It is the cause for the subtle and the sukshma, sthula sharira.
Body, right?
So the feeling cannot be brought fully within our experience, and hence it is difficult to explain.
Mm.
From the
So
byproduct,
you
how
meant
the cause.
avidya is again qualified. Mm.
Again, if a thing exists, it can be explained. A non-existent thing also can be explained. Avidya can neither be said as existent, because if it is existing, nor as non-existent, or both, and therefore it is inexplicable. But how come we cannot say it is existent? Avidya is existent. No, this sentence is a little difficult for me to understand. Can anyone throw some light on that? Avidya can neither be said as existent nor as non-existent, or both, and therefore it is inexplicable.
Yeah, that basically that ignorance, it's a beginningless, as well as, there isn't any cause for it, like there isn't anything to point out this is what's causing the ignorance. I mean, basically, it says that, like you said, the timeless, right? The timeless is
Correct.
basically because there isn't any, it's no beginning, and then I don't know, the end is there definitely.
Correct.
That there,
With the
yeah.
advent of knowledge, once knowledge comes, of course, the avidya
Mhm.
gets destroyed. So there's an
Right.
end to avidya.
End is there. So when they say timeless, you when it started, is that what you're talking about, timeless?
Yeah, it is beginningless. So you
Yeah,
cannot
that
you
is
cannot give a date of birth to avidya, because
right.
if you
That's
give
the
a
reason
date
they say
to avidya,
timeless, right?
then it
Yeah.
means knowledge was there before that. And
Yeah.
if knowledge is there before that, avidya cannot
Because
exist.
yeah, because the grandson asking, oh, why didn't you take me to the marriage meaning?
Correct.
Like obviously he cannot, right?
Yeah.
So that's a avidya. They're asking that question. So that is why they say it's a timeless.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I'm a little confused with I think we read this before,
Read this before.
but
I know this sentence, we'll park it. Let's not go over it.
yeah.
Maybe when we read it one
But
more time.
the simple thing here for verse 14, the one I just mentioned to you, about the causal body, and that's pretty much what they're talking about. The reason I said it read here, there is a link between causeless and beginningless. Ignorance is considered to be beginningless. Logically, it is first found to be causeless. So, meaning no cause found for it. We cannot posit any cause for ignorance. And because it is causeless, it has to be beginningless. Basically, they're saying the same thing over and over. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the effect is seen as a desire. However, we do know the logic analysis that its first effect is seen as desire. Desire is born due to ignorance of the truth. It arises from the alternation of our true identity. From desire, there arises a train of consequences, which is like a desire lineage and is appropriately known as the Anartha Parampara or inauspicious lineage. Knowledge of this lineage helps us to trace back to our original identity beyond ignorance. By saying that ignorance does not have a cause, Vedanta is not being escapist in its approach. It is not hiding away from the problem. It is actually merely stating a logical fact. Yet is by facing the bare fact that Vedanta has established its credentials to provide the most flawless philosophical model to explain reality. The final outcome of these three verses is to teach us what the self is not. Hence, we can now once again go back to the discussion of what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
How I understood, thank you for sharing that, Dr.
uh,
Bhavata.
yeah,
How the sentence is, avidya can
mm,
neither be said as existent. Something which is existent has to remain throughout, like Sat. It has to remain um, throughout without getting, it should not have it should not have an end. So therefore, you
mhm,
cannot say it is existent because it has an end. Neither is
right,
it existent because it is as though there. It is not
right.
there, neither is it there. And therefore it is inexplicable. I think in that way it is inexplicable.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lastly,
you're
in
right.
Vedanta,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
You can't say it's exist or non-exist because of
Non-existent.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right.
Lastly, in Vedanta, the theme of discussion is Vidya and not Avidya. The seeker has come to the teacher seeking knowledge and not seeking to realize ignorance. Therefore, the Shastra says that the seekers need not try to understand and experience ignorance. It is impossible. With a torch, however fast we may run, we will never be able to see darkness. Night flies before the vivid rays of the morn. Keeping a burning gas light on his head, one fool once walked the whole night through, trying to place that light at some place where there is darkness. Failed.
You
So,
remember that thing we read somewhere where the moon asking, I cannot see the sun.
correct. That's the story. I think we're going to come to that.
Come
That
to that.
the lady, I think it's, I think
It's the
something
same thing. This one is with the torch going around looking for.
correct.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
that
not
was in
sure if it's
Tattvabodh.
the
I think
torch.
it was in Tattvabodh that we read.
Mm.
It is a story of that,
Mm.
what is that? That lady is trying to find out uh, darkness, right?
Yeah, I forgot the story. It was kind
Nothing
of
to
funny story at catching, you're chasing tail like.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it was
okay,
sunlight trying to find darkness, something like that it was.
right.
Correct. So Shastra, this I think we should keep bringing ourselves back to this one concept, that truth, that we have come here to learn, to seek knowledge and not to understand avidya or
Mhm.
experience avidya. That is
Not
important.
seeking to realize ignorance. Yeah, we don't want ignorance.
Yeah.
Hmm. That was really funny.
Yeah, just a thought came to my mind that because of this avidya in Prachin Kal, like for about the solar eclipse. Those who were scientific minded, they tried to explain, but they were killed by the so-called people, no, when they tried to reveal that what actually sun eclipse is. So that is ignorance, avidya.
Correct.
And even Columbus went assuming that the globe is round and he will fall down at the end of the ocean. So he also had started with that wrong knowledge.
Correct. And this sentence, the more we try to understand or know ignorance, the more it moves off until we reach true knowledge. It is like you're having this headlamp on your head and you're trying to find darkness. So, as the more you pursue knowledge, the more ignorance moves away from us. So, there is no way of us trying to understand ignorance. We can only understand knowledge, but we can't understand ignorance.
So far, what we read is for what is not, right? So the causal body, the subtle body, and gross body.
Yeah.
And the subtle body includes the mind and intellect, ego, and everything. So,
Right.
so they are not Atma. Is there anything else that we missed?
Will we go to the next sloka? Anyone wants to add or share or ask the causal body?
May I just read the shloka, Brahmaraji?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Bella. Please read. Please chant.
पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिको यथा.
Beautiful. You want to read the Pratipadartha also?
Yeah, okay. Panchakoshadi yegena. It is yogena, right? Typo.
Okay, actually, I think that's a typo there.
Yeah, by identification with the 5 sheets, that, tanmayah, identical with that, eva, like, sthitah, appears, shuddhatma, the pure self, neela vastradi yogena, by association with blue garment, sphatikah, crystal, yatha, just as. Yeah, Dr. Mara, you can read, or whoever.
Yeah. In its identification with the 5 sheets, the immaculate Atman appears to have borrowed their qualities upon itself, as in the case of a crystal which appears to gather unto itself color of its vicinity, blue cloth, etc. Here we are given an answer as to how the perfect, the immaculate self happens to be contaminated by the impure and the imperfect. The self is ever pure and is the same everywhere and is never contaminated by the finite objects in creation, nor by the different layers of matter, which are the products of our non-apprehension of the truth. We wrongly seem to imagine, however, that this unchanging Supreme, because of its association with the imperfect objects, conditioned by various limitations, gathers to itself the stink of the 5 sheets when life is expressed to the mind and the sense organs. The venom of the superimposed serpent cannot poison the rope, its substratum. The blood on the lips of the ghost can never leave any stain upon the innocent post. A clear glass tumbler seems to take up the color of the tablecloth on which it happens to stand. Similarly, because of the seeming identification and association of the pure self with the 5 sheets as it expresses itself in and through them, we mistakenly identify the 5 sheaths as our own true nature. The 5 sheaths are the gross physical structure, the anatomical Annamaya, the vital air sheath, the physiological Pranamaya, the mental sheath, psychological Manomaya, the intellectual sheath, Vijnanamaya, and the bliss sheath, Anandamaya. Yeah. This is so good, no? The blood on the lips of the ghost will not taint the innocent post, and the venom of the superimposed serpent cannot poison the rope. These are two, beautiful truths that if we remember ourselves, when the body is going through some pain or we're having some mental agony, where if we can just remind ourselves of these two statements, then uh, you know, our inner peace will not be. We'll be connected to that, to the inner self, and not get uh, lost and get miserable with whatever is happening.
This is so clear because of the yesterday's Dr. Percy's demonstration.
Correct.
This all
Correct.
5 sheets. I mean, it is so easy to digest now.
Yeah, yeah. So from what he shared yesterday, for the Annamaya Kosha, you do what it can lead to. It's a physical body. You can have physical ailments, body aches, this and that. So for that, you do yoga, and for the vital air sheath, for the prana, in the pranamaya kosha, you do pranayama. And then at the level of the mental sheath is meditation. And at the level of the intellectual sheath, it was knowledge, right? Knowledge. And then
Knowledge and satsang, he said.
yeah,
Yes,
knowledge and
seva, satsang, yeah.
yeah. And the bliss
But,
sheath was seva, service.
This is the seva, right? He
Mm.
put it the seva.
Yeah, for bliss seva, correct.
But all is caused by the stress, all the problems.
Correct.
So it starts from the intellect and mind, and
Here, the stress we can identify as this non-apprehension or non-apprehension leading to misapprehension. That is all the stress, isn't it? When you liken what is the stress, stress is nothing but the gap between what is reality and what our perception of the reality is. That gap is stress. So the closer we are to self, to understanding that we are the self, there is no stress. There is only happiness. Whereas the gap is there, it is that non-apprehension and then the superimposition, misapprehension. Shall we go on one more shloka, or please?
If it's not your, your time schedule, you should see Brahmaraji.
Yeah.
Please.
We'll go on. Maybe we'll go on for a few more till 7:30, 20 more minutes we'll do, because we'll catch up with where Nana has come to today so that we can be abreast of that. Do you want to chant the shloka, Bila?
Yeah, okay. Vapustu shadibihi kausheryuktam.
No, it is Vapustu shadibih koshaihi yuktam yuktya vaghatataha.
Okay. Vapustu shadibihi.
Here the bihi you don't need to say. When you have a consonant in front of the after the visarga, it becomes here vapustushadi bih koshaihi.
Okay. Bih. Okay. Vapustushadi bih. Vapustushadi bih. Bih. Koshaihi Yuktam Yuktya
No, sorry. That R is because of the koshaihi. So then
Okay.
the next sentence the word will be yuktam. The R will be gone.
Okay. Visarga. It will take the Visarga. Okay. Wonderful. Vapustushadi bihi bi. Vapustushadi kaushaihi yuktam yuktavadhatataha atmanamanantaram shuddham vivicha tandulam yatha.
Very beautiful.
Is it correct?
Yeah. Atmana mantaram shuddham. Atmana mantaram shuddham.
Atmanamantaram shuddham
Yeah.
vivicha tandulam yatha.
Yeah. I will just read the footnote before you go to the Pratipadartha. The personality in man is conveniently analyzed into 5 layers on the basis of their distinct functions. This is, I think it's just a repetition of the previous one. Yeah, you can read the Pratipadartha.
Yeah. Vapuhu, the form, tushadibihi, with the husk, etc. Kaushaihi, with sheets, yuktam, covered, yuktya, by logical thinking, avadhatataha, by threshing rice in a mortar, atmanam, the self, antaram, within, shuddham, pure, vivichyat, should separate, tandulam, rice, yatha, just as.
Yeah. So it is koshaihi. Kosha is the sheath, like the pancha kosha.
Koshai, okay.
Yeah, koshaihi. Through discriminative self-analysis and logical thinking, one should separate the pure self within from the sheaths as one separates the rice from the husk, bran, etc. that are covering it. How then are we to visualize the glory and greatness of the supreme truth that is all pervading the self in us? How to separate spirit from matter and realize the pure spirit? Just as rice is obtained by removing the husk, bran, etc. from the paddy, so too, by the discriminating faculty in us, which distinguishes the real from the unreal, removing of the various impurities superimposed by us upon the self, and getting beneath the sheets of the dark spiritual ignorance, avidya, which dims the light of the real self, we must realize it singularly alone in its pure and uncontaminated state. That is why they say knowledge purifies the intellect, and only a discriminating intellect, a pure intellect, is where knowledge can dawn. If you remember, Percy G had mentioned for the Vijnanamaya Kosha, it is knowledge and satsang. Satsang is nothing but being in the company of the truth. No? So the more we are in this our mind, our intellect gets more and more purified, it's sharper. With this discriminating faculty, we are able to distinguish real from unreal, and therefore slowly remove the impurities which we ourselves have superimposed upon the self. And I really like Swamiji's description words, being a journalist, he's wonderful at the pen, and getting beneath the sheets of the dark spiritual ignorance, avidya, which dims the light of the real self. So when you remove this avarana, then what remains is its pure, uncontaminated state, blissful, self-luminous state. Thus, by the art of negation of the physical and mental equipment in us, and also by the removal of the dusty dirt that has been let into rest on that immortal, the glory of the total existence in the manifold creation, the Atman, is to be realized as the pure consciousness. When an earnest seeker subjectively experiences this truth, he becomes detached from the various sheets which are his personality layers. He realizes that the soul is different from those layers, and in the constant process of detachment from them, he attains the infinite knowledge and the absolute bliss. He rediscovers the spiritual status as the eternal self. Asangoham, asangoham, right? You go on removing those layers of personality, all those koshas. I am not the Annamaya, I am not the Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, even that I am not. So here I'm reminded of the Nirvana Shatkam, which is a beautiful composition by Adi Shankaracharya. He goes on to how he negates everything.
Yeah,
I'm not this, I'm not this, and
yeah,
I'm not that. And ultimately, he comes to the thing is, um,
yeah, Nirvana Shatkam, that was a beautiful song. We used to have that in the beginning, right? We played it.
Ahankara Chitta न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्. And then he comes in the end, he says, Aham nirvikalpo nirakara vibhutyatya sarvatra sarvendriyanam sada me samatvam na muktir na bandha chidanandarupaha Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham.
You know, when I listen to that, as if you are walking with Adi Shankaracharya.
Yeah,
It
That's
feels
so beautiful.
whoever sang, yeah, that song was so beautiful. Oh my God.
yeah. This is another Nididhyasana mantra. Like we have Brahma Jnana Vali. This also is
Yeah,
a,
I've been thinking about that. In fact, I should put it. I had that song somewhere, but I have to find it. Anyway, so this one, the previous verse, this other book, it gives a title for a couple of like 2 or 3
correct. I
slokas
know.
together. So the last one it's called it as a problem, and this one it is a solution. The solution is like when you're pounding the paddy and removing the layers to find the rice, like that you remove all the other layers, then you get to the self.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the other one says.
Thank you. So the problem is that we identify ourselves and
Yeah,
superimpose. The
post like
solution is that you negate, remove,
right.
husk, layer by
So
layer.
they right, and the color and all that kind of stuff, with the other layers, the ignorance, but the self is the pure and eternal and shining. And when the self is found, then it shines through that person. So in sattvic person, it comes through, but the other, people that it's covered with these layers.
Yeah. We all, now the Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga comes so much in perspective, no? So, chapter 17, all the 3 different types of Shraddha that Bhagwan has
Yeah.
been talking of makes so
Mm-hmm.
much sense now. And how
Sharira tapas,
from
walk tap, and
tamas to rajas, sattva, we
oh,
go
you
up
mean
by
right,
ourselves.
Satvik and Rajas. If you read this Gita, of course, we are doing one chapter by chapter, but I think Bhagavan is saying this guna thing in almost everywhere.
Correct.
it,
Yeah.
it from second chapter onwards, he mentioning that all the time.
He
Even
is hammering the knowledge so much,
right,
you know.
I am this, I am that, and oh my God. Hmm.
And yesterday,
Well,
Gurudev said something so beautiful. There was some
hmm,
question someone asked. I think a youngster asked the question, saying,
hmm,
uh, Krishna, he compared himself to Krishna, and he says, Krishna was able to dance with all the gopis, so many gopis and gopikas. But if I do the same thing, my parents reprimand me as doing as doing something immoral. So how do I understand? Then please give some knowledge to my parents, is what this youngster had mentioned in the question.
Jesus.
Then Gurudev said,
That
before your
Krishna,
parents,
yeah,
first
he
give me some
danced with
knowledge.
gopikas, not with that intent, So,
Exactly. So what
yeah.
Gurudev said so beautifully,
Mm,
that before giving knowledge to your parents, I will give you this knowledge. He said,
mm,
at that time, Krishna's time, there was no law for Eve teasing, but now you have so many regulations and legal implications. If you Eve tease, you will
mm,
be you will be reprimanded. Even the judge will not come to your rescue. So he said something beautiful. He said, um, you follow Ram
yeah.
in in
Ek
in
Patni
in
Viruddha.
your actions and
Yeah.
everything, but
Mm,
follow Krishna's knowledge. It said something
right.
like that.
Yeah, somebody asked like that Krishna from the gopis, Krishna is different. The one with Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is different from
Yeah,
that
he says you
Krishna.
cannot like equate yourself to Krishna and
The-
then say I will do
Yeah,
whatever he's done. They're all his leelas. They're all
yeah.
his wondrous things. So you cannot say I will be like Krishna. I will steal. I will do this. I'll do that. Then you'll be put behind the bars because you are not Krishna.
Oh my God. If you have that power.
Jnan, I'm not remembering that, but in essence, it was
Mm,
follow Ram because he was a Maryada Purusha. For actions and how to live a life, you follow Ram, but follow Krishna's Jnan, Bhagwan's Jnan that he's given so beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita.
yeah. Mhm.
Bela, you'll read the chart, the verse.
Yeah. If you want, Brahmaraji, you read so that because time is
No,
more.
no, no, no. Go ahead, please chant, Bela. No problem at all. We'll do this for another 5 minutes and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, धन्यवाद. सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्धावेवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्.
Yeah, very beautiful. Just that when that S is there, no, that S, Sarvagato Pyatma, that to you have to drag a little more.
Okay, because there is double
That
matra.
that S is there. That is why just drag the
Okay,
O a little bit. That's all. Otherwise,
okay,
it was beautiful.
okay, धन्यवाद.
Yeah.
Sada, always, sarvagatah, all pervading, api, although, atma, the self, na, not, sarvatra, everywhere, avabhasate, shines, buddhau, in the intellect, eva, only, avabhaseta, manifest, swacheshu, in the transparent surface, pratibimbavata, just as the reflection.
The Atman does not shine in everything, although he is all pervading. He is manifest only in the inner equipment, the intellect, buddhi, just as the reflection in a clean mirror. The Atman, being infinite, is by its very nature all pervading. Although it is available in the cognition of all objects, in the pure intellect, buddhi alone, can we come to realize the self Atma Tattva in all its essential splendor. Just as in a clear, polished mirror alone are we able to see our reflections distinctly. Although, according to the principles of reflection, our faces are reflected everywhere on all objects. I'll read the footnote. 1 second. According to physics, light falling on the object gets reflected, and these reflected light rays again get reflected at the reflecting surface. And when they fall on our retina, we see the reflection. This process goes on even on a granite rough wall surface, but we don't see our reflection there. It's such a beautiful example that we can relate to, isn't it?
Yes, very
No?
beautiful.
So the more Avarana Shakti is there, the more tamasic and the rajasic natures we have, or um, we are not polished, that antakarna shuddhi is not there. There is no reflection. You cannot see yourself. But the more pure you are, the more uh, shuddham you are, your that antakarna shuddhi, then you're able to see your reflection.
Even the cataract comes, then your retina is polluted.
Right, right. I think Swamiji talks about the cataract also here, I think. Let us again take the example of our own government. It functions from New Delhi, but it sounds odd if we really mean that the government is in New Delhi alone and not in the other parts of India. The government may have its headquarters up in the north, but even in a little home away in the south, the overall hold and grace of the government falls equally. On every inch of the country it has its sway. Its laws are applicable throughout the length and breadth of the land. Yet, to meet the government, one must go to New Delhi. So too, although the Lord, the Supreme Brahman, who is the substratum for all this plurality, is within us as well as without us, it is only in the subtle intellect, buddhi, purified and steadied, that it is to be clearly seen, fully reflected. The body is gross, the mind is agitated over one thing or another, and hence it is in the subtle intellect that one can learn by practice to be calm and steady. In that serene quietude of a settled and pure mind, the effulgent self is recognized. Just as we can see quite easily and clearly our own image only in a clean mirror held steady. This is so good. Body is gross, so you can't see the reflection of the self in the body. Mind is agitated, sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha. It is therefore only in the subtle intellect that one can learn by practice. And that too, what kind of intellect? Calm, serene, and steady. It is not enough if it's only calm, but it also has to be steady. Only in that still, calm, serene intellect that the self is recognized. Yeah. Does anyone want to share anything before we close today?
Gurudev's example of that sand particle when it falls in the eye, no? The whole.
Mm-hmm. What about that?
I mean, even the external, if we are having that external influence, circumstances, then also our vision is not clear. We perceive in a wrong way.
Correct. So that grain of sand is like the avidya, which is veiling our true perception. Correct?
Yeah. And sometimes due to some circumstances also, no, we tend to see some person or some event very differently. And when we come back to self and sit calmly, and then we think, then we can see totally different perspective.
Correct.
Can I quickly say what this one says is
Yes,
basically
please.
the
Please go
title
ahead, Mara.
given is as the reflection in a mirror for this one, the 17th verse. In this verse, the intellect is given its proper place as the prime instruments available to the two human beings explore their spirituality. It is in the intellect that the Lord shines more clearly than in any other sheath of the human being. Vedanta, in the same breath, proclaims that only purity can capture clarity of intellect. Purity can capture clarity of intellect. Hence, the intellect that is given prime place is not biased intellect leaning towards the mind and its desires, but a clean and clear instrument that is unswayed by desire. Such an instrument alone is capable of arriving logically at the truth. Basically, the same thing, it's they talked about serene um, and the
He's
steady mind
of
or steady intellect.
desirelessness, right? He's
Yeah,
talking not swayed
yeah,
by desires.
yeah, exactly. So, um, especially, yeah, you don't want to swayed by the desires and all that. So that's where that asangogam comes. That you're
And not swayed
not
by
as.
desires is also being bereft of raga dvesha, isn't it?
Mm-hmm,
So we
right.
desire for something, we desire to avoid something. So we're constantly desiring something or the other. So once
Yeah,
the hold of raga dvesha
the the
is
very first verse that we read, right? The Pobi um, Kshina Papanam Santanam
Vitaragi,
Vitaranam. Yeah.
right?
And what was the other one? Is the Mumukshunam
Mumukshunam
Apra.
apekshoyam
Uh, what was that?
atma
Yeah, yeah. Atma
Mumukshunam
Bodha Vidhi.
apekshoyam atma bodho
Apaksh.
vidhi.
Mhm. Yeah. So basically, he revealed that in very first sloka itself.
Correct. So calm intellect, pure and steady intellect is one which is not only calm, it is also steady. It is devoid of all this raga dvesha. It is devoid of all the desires. It is settled in itself, like the
Mhm.
pure, like the calm lake in which you can see the reflection of the moon. Yeah.
When we gonna get that calm one?
We get. We just have to have shraddha. That's all. Continue doing what we are doing. Continue
Mm.
our sadhana, our effort, and satsang, and acquiring knowledge and introspecting. Doing this manana, nididhyasana, and with that shraddha. That is why shraddhavan labhate jnanam. So we should never doubt ourselves. On this path, like what Gurudev says, there are three doubts. You can either self-doubt or doubt the master, doubt the technique.
Right.
So that will
It's just
come
a matter of time, I think.
time. It's a matter
Yeah,
of time. That's it. We should have that shraddha. That do
right.
you remember that story of that two devotees who do tapas, and God appears before the first devotee, and he says, "When will I get moksha?" He says, "As many leaves are there." No, I think he will say
Stars in the sky, I
stars in
think.
the, and then he says, "Oh, so many. I've been practicing for so many years, and I still have to go so many." And then the next devotee, I mean, God tells him, "As many leaves are there
Mm,
in this tree." He says, "Oh, that's all," and then he goes very happily. So
mm,
I think it is
right.
it is our attitude towards that.
Yeah. It just
Apparently,
that, yeah,
the story goes, the second devotee gets instantly enlightened.
yeah. So
That
it's
is,
like, yeah, you are like more optimistic about it.
Yeah, and not just optimistic, it is also having that deep faith that it will happen.
It will happen. Yeah.
It will happen. We should not hanker for it, but it will happen.
Yeah, this calmness, steadiness, and clean. I mean, getting rid of all the raga, dveshas, unattachment.
Mm.
You know, in Holy Quran also, there
Mm.
is a story when I was in Bahrain, I was translating in my institute. So there also this story is there. One person who was offering his prayers very, very loudly daily. And then one day there was a Akashvani who happened that your prayers are not accepted by the Lord. But still he was dancing. So the people said that, see, that we heard that you are not, your prayers are not heard. Still you are. Then he said, at least he knows that I'm praying.
Isn't it? What a lovely
Yeah.
perspective. Rather than feeling dejected,
Yeah.
much of
You
faith,
need to keep at
love.
it and then get there, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dr. Mara, I'm sorry to change the topic. Tomorrow you are chanting sixth chapter, right?
No, I think
No.
Vijayji is chanting chapter 6 tomorrow.
Oh, I need to, because chapter 7th, first shloka, I will not be
Mm.
able to display on the screen. I'm not able to cut and paste. So,
Don't
six,
worry,
Don't,
don't worry, Bella.
don't
Don't.
worry.
yeah, sixth chapter I will
I
be able
cannot.
to share.
Yeah, I will. Vijayji, you can message him that let him read the first sloka from his book. That's not at all an issue.
Yeah,
So
or
don't.
else maybe I have to take 2 minutes to just go back to the other
Not
text.
required. No, I don't think that is needed. Don't worry.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Whatever you have projected, because I'm not able to read all the Sanskrit letters at this time, but I will read it. My own printout I'll keep with
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Dr.
Yeah.
Mara, on Saturday when you chant, you chant looking at your book.
Yeah.
Bela will of course project this Sanskrit verses, but you
Yeah.
can chant from your book, of course.
It the only reason I want to do it now, you know, I don't know, next week will be different. So I thought I'll
No
try it
problem.
this time.
No problem. I'm
I
very
don't know.
happy that you've come forward to chant. Very good.
I know I come forward now. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But I've
No, you
been
are
What you
doing perfect,
practicing.
very well, Dr. Mara. Very nicely. I mean, your Sanskrit, you are taking so much interest. You are going into deep.
Yeah, but yeah, I like to learn, but it will take some time. But then I thought I'll try this because I want to do it this one and see.
very
Yeah,
good.
it's miraculous language, you know. Sanskrit, you will definitely, once you start getting to know it, it will
Yeah,
reveal itself only.
Yeah,
yeah.
very true.
I do think, you know, you won't believe when I was little kid, my neighbors speak Kannada. In my med school, I had a person from Kerala, so Malayalam and Telugu, you know, Tamil. You know, I know few languages, but I every time I go to India, I try to learn Hindi 1 month like that, and then when I come here, I will I'll continue with it, but it doesn't happen. And then Sanskrit also the same thing. Mhm. Anyway, it will happen now that we are learning Gita, and it will
Yes,
happen.
you will of course learn, not to worry at
Yeah,
all.
Our
yeah.
Kitappa is there. Don't
Yes.
worry.
I know he's the one pushing us all through this, you know, say, get there, you will do it, you can do it, and that's it.
You just
and
pray to
and
Kitaya, Dr. Mara. You just pray to Kitaya that please help me and guide me to recite your verses. He
you
will
won't believe.
automatically do it.
That's what I've been doing. I had to bribe him to do that. Well,
you
that
will not you will
more
not
than
know
that, I
how
think
the words would flow from your mouth.
Yeah.
It will
more than
happen
that, I think the
spontaneous.
Nanaji's interest and the effort he's putting in all this, I think that's the only thing I want to show little that I'm attentive and taking care attending to his class. So I want to be a good student. Yeah.
That's so sweet.
I know. When I only do that, I know how I'm gonna do it. Thank you so much.
Oh, Dr. Renu has sent some messages. I forgot to read this. That's why it's called Amrit Vela. Atma is like sky, and our thoughts, feelings, and world is the passing clouds. Right. Yeah.
It's a time, right? Amrit is good time, like the best time, maybe.
Yeah.
She may be talking about that Brahma Muhurtam. You know, she maybe thought that's Amrit Wala.
I think she's not there in the group. She must have left.
Oh, she's not there. Okay. So,
Not there.
yes.
Yeah.
Too late.
So we'll conclude here today. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om.
Very Gurudev. Dhanyavad Brahmaraji so much.
Thank you so much.